Hey guys, we're back.
So enthusiastically too.
We're so thrilled to be here. It's been a tiring day. Not for any real reason. It's not our eyeballs today, but well, no. I mean, I got up to coach soccer, but I mean, we did some things, but we were getting ready for a sketch show next week, so we've been busy with that. If you're in the Seattle area, 18th and Union.
19th. Or is it? No, 18th.
18th
You're right.
and Union.
Jeez Louise.
You don't even know the damn street, lady. 18th
18th
and Union next week, Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 2 p.m.
The dates are November 25th and 26th.
Greatest
Saturday.
Hits is the name of the show, Turbo Turkey Productions.
Yep, Turbo
You
Turkey's,
can get your tickets.
Yep, Turbo Turkey Greatest Hits Sketch Show.
Yep.
Saturday, November 25th, 7 p.m. Sunday, November 26th at 2 p.m. Tickets are a mere $15.
Yep.
Less than it would cost to see the movies we're about to review.
18u.thundertix.com.
Yes.
Go to that and just look for Turbo Turkey and get your tickets. Come check out some fun sketch comedy. We've been working very hard, very hard. So, anyway, that's enough of shameless plugging. So we, as we did last week over the last 2 weeks with the Raimi trilogy, we have now revisited the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man non-trilogy. Duology, I guess. And so we're not going to do what we did with the last video tonight, just because Anna has to get up early and for work.
You're learning all our personal business.
Let me just let you know Anna's going to ruin the entire thing. No.
Yeah.
No, we had some, because much like Spider-Man 3, we wanted to fix some things from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which we'll talk about, and then kind of set up a Spider-Man 3 essentially to complete the trilogy.
Because this was meant to be a trilogy.
Yeah, and lead into the thing.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that was because The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did so badly at the box office. It did so badly, in fact, that Sony was forced to develop a new deal on the rights to Spider-Man with Marvel, allowing Marvel to have rights to Spider-Man for the first time, I think, since the mid-90s.
Yeah, something like that.
So obviously there are things to fix about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, not that we can really complain about the way things turned out in the grand scheme of things.
Right, yeah. All good.
But there are things to definitely to fix about the film, but there's also things to appreciate.
Yes.
And before we can get into that, we got to talk about the first Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes. And what we'll also be doing with these things in these videos, like always, we also will have a challenge of, I have an idea to, like, the Sony verse itself. What a mess it's been. Outside of these Spider-Verse movies, which are great, and the first Venom was okay, but all of them have been a mess. So if we were to, in an alternate world, have to have a Sony shared universe type thing, let's say that there was either no deal with Marvel or there was no MCU, maybe, then we will propose kind of how we go about that. You have this insane look on you.
No MCU!
I'm just saying. Or maybe just no deal with, maybe just don't do share Spider-Man, If that didn't happen, how would we make it work? Yeah. That'll be a challenge.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's talk about what
we do have.
Yes.
What does exist.
Let's talk about the Amazing Spider-Man first movie here.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Reese Ifans as Kurt Connors, a.k.a. the Lizard.
Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben. Sally Field as Aunt May. I think that's the main cast. And Dennis Leary as Captain George Stacy. And this film was released in 2012, a mere 5 years after Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
And for those of us who were old enough to have been there on that day, that felt a little soon.
It did. And I can remember when it first came out, not the movie came out, but when I first heard them announce that they weren't going to do Spider-Man 4, which was going to have the Vulture, and for some reason the Vulture rests. What the fuck? But was supposed to have them. I think they were going to get the lizard in there somewhere too, but
Yeah,
so
Anne Hathaway was going to
Yeah.
be in it as Felicia Hardy.
yeah,
It all got scrapped because Spider-Man 3 was such a mess, as we mentioned in
Right.
our previous video.
so I can remember being like, "What? No!" Yeah, I literally turned into Mark Wahlberg from The Happening. I'm like, what? No. But no. I remember not being thrown away. And then when they announced Andrew Garfield at first, I'm like, who's this pretty boy? You know, it's just like, that guy can't be Peter Parker. You know.
He was an Oscar-nominated actor.
Well, he is now. But
He was then, too.
Okay, well, still, honey, it doesn't matter, honey. That doesn't... I mean, just because you're an Oscar nominated... I can't speak today. I'm losing my mind.
Oscar-nominated
I'm
actor.
just saying, just because you're an Oscar-nominated actor doesn't necessarily mean that you will transfer well to superhero role, Brie Larson.
Jeez Louise.
No, I have no problem with her. I'm just saying, like...
but it does follow in the on the same trajectory that was already set by Tobey Maguire, which is a fairly unusual like not looking so much for someone who's like an action lead and more looking at someone for their acting talent, because Tobey Maguire was coming into the first Spider-Man film fresh off like films like Wonder Boys and Cider House Rules, Pleasantville. He was known as like more of this like cerebral type of dramatic film actor before he got Spider-Man.
Yeah, I didn't say you tried to put words in my mouth. Thank you very much.
Oh sure, yeah, no problem, anytime.
Also, that wasn't a shot at Brie Larson personally. I'm just saying that it hasn't exactly. I don't think she's blended well in the MCU.
That may not be her fault.
And I'm not saying it's her fault.
I know.
Once again, you're putting words in my mouth. Thank you very much.
Anyway.
But no, I'm just saying that all I was trying to say is that sometimes just because you're an Oscar-nominated actor, you know, doesn't mean that you're going to give your all in a superhero movie.
Fair. Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence, Mystique.
Fair. Anyway.
Oscar-nominated actor. I'm going to keep saying it because I can't say it properly for some reason.
But anyway. So Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, so Andrew Garfield got cast, but then I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, this is interesting. It seemed like they were going... The trailer was very, like, moody and kind of a little bit dark. And so they're like, okay, they're going
a little
different.
more realistic based.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, they're going for a little different take here. So we get, you know, that's cool. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, Martin Sheen's going to be Uncle Ben. That's interesting. You know, and so I got... after I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, I'll give this thing a chance, you know. And I got us tickets in IMAX to see it.
It looked really cool in IMAX.
Yeah, and we did like it, yeah.
But how does it hold up over a decade later?
Not bad. I would say probably the dumbest scene, well, one of the dumbest scenes in it is Uncle Ben's death.
Yeah, he goes
Here,
out...
let me get in front of this gun here.
He goes out like a dum-dum. So before we get into Uncle Ben and Aunt May, I would like to talk about an aspect that makes these films unique to the Spider-Man mythos and immediately helps separate them from the Raimiverse trilogy, which is that Peter's story doesn't begin as a high school teenager.
Yeah.
It begins as a young child getting dropped off at Uncle Ben and Aunt May's house.
Yeah, by his parents.
By his parents before they, like, run off. And it's all very mysterious and very, like, scientific-y and conspiracy theory and science secrets and all kinds of intrigue, which, as we mentioned, where we were talking amongst ourselves, kind of looked like it was going to be a lead-in into the Clone Saga.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Possibly good. Which, since that went a bit rocky during its comic book run. But, and a bit controversial as well. Yeah. But it immediately separates this from the Raimiverse. So for anyone like myself who felt like this was way too soon to be rebooting Spider-Man, automatically I'm like, okay, we're doing something new. Right. I'm automatically on board just because we're doing something new. Yes. Fair. Cool.
Yes. So yeah, as we get into the movie,
and it's also Campbell Scott as Richard Parker.
Yes.
Peter's father. Sorry.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
It is very nice.
Anyway, I'm grumpy.
We can tell.
Grumpy. Yeah. Grumbles. Anyway, No, it's just frustrating. I couldn't say Oscar nominated. It's like, what the hell? Words are hard! Anyway, I've been practicing a lot of sketches. Some words are all flowing through my brain right now. Anyway, so no, what I also immediately liked about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was that I felt like, especially when he was in the Spider-Man costume, like Tobey Maguire had a few moments like it, but I felt like that Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker in Spider-Man was much more quippy with the jokes and stuff, which is really true to the comics.
Yes.
Very quippy. He's a smartass. He's supposed to be a smartass.
He is a smartass, yeah.
So, like, you know, the scene with the robber is just like, oh no, knives are my weakness, you know.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, crawl out through the window. There, there you go. Yeah, he's a lot more, I think, naturally funny than Tobey Maguire is.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot with his Spider-Man.
Totally.
When it comes to his Peter Parker, I know in the first film there has been some criticism that he's not a very good Peter Parker, that he's too hipster to be Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Watching it now, yes, it is very early 20-teens.
Yeah.
The style. But I buy him as a nerd. He's got like the posture for it. He the loner aspect. The antisocial aspect, like trying to get into his own locker.
Yeah.
You know, just because he's not constantly in glasses, he still reads like a nerd to me.
And that's the thing, you don't have to have glasses to be a nerd either.
True.
I think that's a common stereotypical thing. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I feel he still reads as very uncool pre.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spider Bite. I also like that. Sorry. Was there anything you wanted to?
Keep going.
Okay, cool. I also like that it took its time. Building up to him becoming Spider-Man. It was just more of a journey of him trying to reconnect with his father's old colleague, Dr. Connors, and that's what gets him into the spider room, which gets the spider bite, and then there's him slowly exploring his powers and just exploring his powers for a while until tragedy strikes, and then he's trying to find Uncle Ben's killer, and then that morphs into what is a mass vigilante thing. Morphs into him becoming a superhero. Right. It takes its time with that, and I appreciate that. It's a different take, and I appreciate it.
I actually I became much more of a fan of Andrew Garfield after these movies, and actually I've watched a lot of stuff. He was in. I watched Under the Silver Lake, which was a very strange movie from the director of
It Follows.
It Follows, yeah. It's a weird, very surreal movie, but he's really good in it. And of course, he's been in a lot of other things. The one that Mel Gibson directed, where he was the pacifist soldier, and that one with the Under the Banner of Heaven. It was on Hulu.
Oh yeah.
Where he's the Mormon cop and stuff. And that was really good. But no, he's really good in this. Him and Emma Stone, of course, were dating at the time, like you do when you have a date, just for a Spider-Man movie. But and they of course have natural chemistry between that. And so she was really good as Gwen Stacy too.
Yes, I was about to say, because here's another thing that separates. We actually get our Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
Before
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, and they definitely lean into the the science student aspect of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah. Exactly. She's very smart and stuff. Yeah. So and she's kind of she's treated very much like an equal to him. She's not just like, I'm the bimbo that you have to rescue. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was never a bimbo.
No, I don't mean that in that. I'm just saying that in some people's criticism of Mary Jane and Raimi was that she was constantly a damsel in distress. Yeah. That's what I was getting at, lady.
Okay, sure.
Grumble.
Gee, you are grumpy.
Well, because you keep insinuating things.
I'm not insinuating. So, but they're very good together. Martin Sheen and Sally Field as Uncle Ben and Aunt May. They get more screen time than Cliff Robertson and Rosemary Harris together. And it it is very natural. I will say I don't feel as much of a connection with Martin Sheen's Uncle Ben as I did with Cliff Robertson's.
Yeah, that's fair.
I felt like he felt very natural as like the guardian for Peter, father figure and all that. But it wasn't like and I've also heard like that Cliff Robertson's take is like too saintly, but it's like he doesn't have quite that sort of like understanding vibe. Like he has pictures of you on his computer, which I mean feels like a very like snarky uncle thing to do. Like you can see where, on one hand you can totally see where Peter gets his sense of humor from. But on the other hand, it's all like really, you're gonna make your nephew look like a stalker in front of the girl he likes.
Well, I think really, and of course they really haven't referenced him much at all in the Marvel ones, but like I feel like really the Raimi verse is the only one that really got Uncle Ben truly right.
I would agree.
I don't think they've ever been able to do it right since then. Not that you have to constantly kill Uncle Ben.
Like we got it the first time, honestly. But I would agree with that.
And the great thing is Sally Field never has a moment where she goes into her first meeting on the beach with Uncle Ben. Spider-Man.
They don't give her
any...
He looks
good and he looks good.
They never give her any, like, weird monologues, which is nice. On the other hand, they don't really give her much to do, period.
Yeah, in either one of the movies, honestly. She's there, but she's not like...
She's there, and it's always lovely to see her because it's Sally Field. She automatically gains a lot of goodwill just because she's played by Sally Field. But they don't really give her much to do. And again, like, there's kind of this thing, like, with, in Spider-Man 2, where she delivers her lines with a subtext of, hey, Peter, I know you're Spider-Man. But it's never actually outright said. But, like, you can tell from her, like, her line delivery that she knows he's Spider-Man.
Right.
But like she's not really given much to do. I felt like Rosemary Harris had more to do as Aunt May in the Raimi-verse trilogy than Sally Field has.
True.
So I feel like they didn't really do much with Uncle Ben and Aunt May, and maybe part of that was so much because they were Peter missing his real parents. Which is kind of a disservice to Uncle Ben and Aunt May, since they are the ones who raised him ultimately. But they don't really have much to do in this version.
Right.
That's just occurring to me as we're talking about the film. It is, yeah.
Just occurring?
So, we've talked about our heroes. Want to talk about our villains? Villains?
Well, really just one villain in this one, isn't it?
Well,
more or less,
ish.
I mean, it's so basically we kind of start off a little bit like Oscorp is a thing.
Yes. A very big thing.
Yes. And there's like a picture of black, like surrounded by blackness, so that they apparently had not casted a Norman Osborn yet. So like
it's like a silhouette.
Yeah. So it's just like this darkened silhouette of Norman Osborn. So we have no idea what he looks like at this point. But he exists.
Yes, we know he exists because he has a company.
And Gwen Stacy works there. And then Dr. Kirk Connors, a.k.a. the Lizard, works there. And so we find out that he used to work with Richard Parker, his dad, and all that. So he reaches out to him and connects with him and all that. And he talks about his research for like regenerative type of things to replace limbs,
cross-species genetics, using cross-species genetics to regenerate limbs. Using,
of course, lizard stuff to regrowth, and he does it on mice and all that, and Peter ends up helping him with the formula, which of course backfires on him. But meanwhile, this one actor who is working for Norman Osborn is saying, Norman's dying, he needs a cure, which you get into a little bit more in the second movie. But so like he's like, we need human subjects, so he ends up testing it on himself, and then he actually does grow his arm. But then he becomes the lizard. And he goes mad.
Rhys Ifan is excellent. As the lizard. And
probably really doesn't get enough credit for that.
I agree. Like nobody really talks about him very much and I thought he was fabulous. I thought he did a great, based on sort of the path that Sam Raimi had already set for villains, as like, you know, like setting up their sympathetic backstories so that you feel for them,
Right.
even as they're like descending into villainy, which was also a Stan Lee writing tactic as well.
Right.
I feel like Rhys Ifans' take on Kurt Connors also follows that trajectory really well. In terms of, especially in terms of his performance, like you can see his like desperation, even though he's given kind of like the expository dialogue he's given is kind of clunky, but he delivers it well. You believe him as a you know, as an ethical scientist, because like originally, like part of his reason for testing it on himself is so that Oscorp doesn't test it on unsuspecting war veterans who think they're getting a flu shot.
Which I had to look up when we were watching. I'm like, how did he lose his arm? Because I couldn't remember if he was just born that way or if he had lost it. And he was a veteran.
Yeah, he himself. Connors himself is a war veteran.
That's how he lost his arm. So.
But yeah, so like he's ethical. He cares about Peter as a mentor protege relationship. You know, he's. But at the same time, he doesn't like his disability. He you know,
feels
he's
like
got
an outcast.
it makes him feel like he wants very much to not have a disability, and that desire ultimately overtakes his ethics, and constantly injecting himself with that serum is not helping his sanity at all.
Right?
He has this like real descent into madness. Because and it's ultimately culminated in his absolute galaxy brain idea of, wouldn't the world be great if we were all lizards?
Yeah. Let's just be lizards.
Everyone in New York, just lizards.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's like, that's a really, like, I mean, as much as people want to clown on the Raimi verse, like, you know, how cartoony, comic booky the style is, it's like...
Oh no, not comic booky.
I know, right? For a comic book character.
Yeah.
But, like, the idea of, I'm gonna turn the entire city into lizards... That is pure comic book, and considering like the tone of the movie, which is like a lot darker and grittier and more realistic, I kind of love that dichotomy.
Yeah.
He's not out to kill anybody. No, he just wants to turn us all into lizards.
Let's all be lizards. Let's just be lizards.
Let's be lizards. It'll be fine, and I'll be the Lizard King.
I'm a snack. Anyway, there's some good fight scenes too with him and Lizard.
Yes!
Including one that has a great Stan Lee cameo.
The best of the Stan Lee cameos. Oh my gosh, where he's the librarian with the headphones, jamming. Jamming. And it's like this whole fight scene is happening behind. So great. Yeah, that's another thing I really liked about is that Spider-Man's fighting style feels a lot more spider-like, especially when he's like winding the cobwebs, or not the cobwebs, the web shooters around the lizard to capture him, them like crawling up the walls and then back down to the floor, and how like their posture moves from like, you know, more human to more reptilian or arachnid, and it's a lot more interesting to like visually. Especially since we keep talking about the Raimi films, but like a lot of that was a lot more like upright, punches and kicks and flips and things like that. And this one took more advantage, I feel, of the fact that both characters had this sort of like hybrid quality to them. Right.
I had commented from watching both movies that I think that if Marc Webb hasn't done a horror film, that he easily could do something with body horror easily, because there's a lot of body horror stuff in both movies.
And he does really well with it.
Definitely.
I will say, with all respect to Dylan Baker, there's a scene in this film, you remember the one where Connors has officially like lost the plot mentally, and he's having this big like big villain meltdown
Yeah.
with a big villain monologue,
Yeah.
and he delivers it, mwah, to the hilt, like pure comic book villain ham. It's beautiful, and it's like watching that one. It's like, God, I wish he'd been directed by Sam Raimi. Because Sam Raimi would have like taken full advantage of that performance, and it would have been really like cinematic and cool looking, as opposed to just I'm sitting in a cave under the sewer.
Yeah, I built this whole lab here under the sewer. It's sustainable somehow.
I'm a lizard.
Yeah, I'm a lizard with little lizards crawling around with
little lizards everywhere.
These are my underling lizards.
My little lizards.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, and then Dennis Leary plays Captain Ed Stacy.
George.
Oh, it's George? I thought his name was Ed.
Okay.
That's what I know. I don't know shit.
Yeah.
He's fine. I mean, he's there. You know,
yeah.
So, but yeah. And then, he dies.
And then he dies, yeah.
Yeah. And then he kind of says, keep going out of it type of thing. And then, so
that lasts about 5
minutes. It was
minutes.
kind of funny because it's like, as soon as she comes up and is talking about the funeral at the end, and it says, they were there, Flash was there, and it's just like, but not you. And I could think it was just like, everyone else came to my play from the second movie. Well, not you, Peter Parker. What the fuck?
Peter is not good at showing up for people. Like that is a constant of his. But of course, she figures out that he's staying away from her because that was her dad's dying wish. But it's not her living wish. Right. So it lasts all of 5 minutes and they get back together. Yeah.
Also, we had talked we wish they had done more with the Flash Thompson.
Yes.
Because it felt
I don't know who that actor is.
Yeah, I don't either. But they had a good dynamic, I felt, and you could tell this scene when after Uncle Ben dies, he comes up to him and he thinks he's gonna bully him, and he's actually trying. Yeah,
he's actually there to comfort him. I would say of all the Flash Thompsons, this one is the most dynamic. Yeah. He's the one who actually has layers.
Yeah. Because Joe Manganiello was just a bully. Yeah,
right. He an Abercrombie and Fitch douchebag.
Yeah.
And but this one actually he's actually got layers, and he he kind of gets over, he kind of outgrows that by the end of the film. Yeah. And he's the only one that feels like he's got potential to become something more than what he is. And sadly, they do nothing with, he doesn't show up in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah. And that's too bad.
It is, Yeah. Any other thoughts on the first movie?
It was good.
Yeah, we liked it.
I feel like people... Well, I think part of it is because of what follows it. But I feel like on its own, it's a good film. Just take it, if we had just watched, just on its own, it's a good film. Is it as good as Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2? No. But in terms of having its own take on the characters, it's a good film. Andrew Garfield is very good both as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. He and Gwen Stacy, or as Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy, have a really good dynamic. Rhys Ifan is a really good villain as the Lizard. Yeah. It's a good movie. Yeah. It's fun to watch.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
now we get to Amazing Spider-Man 2. Let's try to talk about the positives.
Yes, let's talk the positives first.
Because there are.
But they exist.
There are a few. All right. So an improved looking, more traditional suit.
Yeah.
The first one was decent, but it was more rubbery and the eyes were weird.
Yeah. This one has probably, I think... Well, no, I think I like Tobey Maguire's more.
That's fine.
It's still a really good suit.
Yeah, it's solid.
Really good Spider-Man suit. Andrew Garfield is still on point.
Definitely.
He and Sally Field have a really good scene together. The whole "You're my boy" scene, that was genuinely heartfelt.
Totally.
Yeah. The use of dubstep dates the film.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. But in terms of using dubstep music, electronic music specifically for our villain Electro,
Yep.
fabulous.
Don't you know? I'm Electro.
Fabulous use of soundtrack there.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Jamie Foxx was down
Yeah.
as Electro. You could tell that he wanted to be there.
Yeah. It didn't feel like a mailed-in performance. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It felt like he wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Let's Dane DeHaan as Harry makes you wish that he had better material to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we'll get into that. Whatever the issue is with Harry, it is not Dane DeHaan's fault.
No. No. That's...
Let's see. Paul Giamatti's there.
He's there. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Also, it also follows up on one of my favorite aspects of this particular Spider-Man, which is how good he is with kids.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he out beating up criminals, but he's also boosting the self-esteem of little bullied kids.
Yeah, there was a scene in the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of the car, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this one follows through with that with the kid where he fixes the kid's science project.
Yeah.
That is the kind of hero Spider-Man is, I feel. So I'm glad they...
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So yeah. I'm glad that they capture that.
Totally. There were some...
and there were some cool fight scenes.
Some cool fight scenes, and there were some cool little Easter eggy things that they would have in there. Like, it'd be like, oh, that character. Yeah. Or little things in the background. Which is fine.
Yeah. The use of the electric powers, of Electro's electric powers, really cool.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
Really
cinematically cool, yeah.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
is that everything?
I think that wraps
I think that's
up
everything. I think that's all the good things.
All right, so let's talk about the bad things.
Oh boy.
And there are many.
The film that killed a franchise.
Yeah, well, it made the Spider-Man 3 problem of too many villains, too many plot lines going on at the same time. Unnecessary relationship drama that didn't need to be there. Let's start with that.
Yeah, let's start with that. Because this movie has almost a 2.5-hour runtime, and that could have been fixed by just cutting out the whole on and off subplot with Peter and Gwen. Mm-hmm. They got together at the end of the last film.
Yeah.
Now, suddenly, they've been together for a year at this point.
Yeah.
And now, suddenly, Peter is having visions of Dennis Leary staring at him judgmentally everywhere he goes. And
I'm the ghost of Dennis Leary. I'm here to just judge you.
And he decides that is a sign that he needs to break up with Gwen.
Yeah. Somebody wrote that. And that is their plot line for the entire frickin' movie. And it is so annoying. It is up there with the whole love triangle in Spider-Man 3, where everyone is an idiot right now. It is so annoying. Yes. It is so annoying and unnecessary, and it's like we're wasting valuable screen time. Yeah, it's right up there with Aunt May telling the story of how she met.
Yeah. That's not the montages, the random ass montages to very timely mid-20-teens music.
Yeah.
Also, a fabulous use of your running time.
Also, in the first movie, they sort of go into a little bit to his parents' thing and the mystery around it and all that, and then they unravel that mystery a little bit here, and it's just kind of a letdown.
Yeah. It's like they should have stretched it out more.
Yeah.
And it's and again it makes as intriguing as it is when it's introduced in the first film.
Yeah.
This one turns it into an actual problem and just highlights the problem of pushing people like Aunt May into the background, which is him being so obsessed with his parents.
Yeah.
That what about the people in your actual life?
Right.
We don't like, yes, we like this is part of your backstory and all, and it's cool that it's been included, but having like this constant like obsession with like that's not Peter Parker.
No.
And
Also,
yeah.
it feels like they make Oscorp sort of like this all-controlling thing. Like, basically, you have spider powers because your dad put his DNA in these spider things.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah. That was silly. That was
too much conspiracy.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Evil corporation.
Yeah. And speaking of Oscorp, in the first film, they were a research facility.
Yeah.
Here, they do everything.
Yeah.
They are Microsoft, they are Apple, they are Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, just all wrapped into one. And it's weird.
Yeah.
It's all like Oscorp. Everything is just Oscorp.
Yeah.
Is there a villain on the horizon? Oscorp. Like all this, and it's all like, does everything really lead back to Oscorp? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Also, it's just not realistic that a research facility is also like, we're also an energy plant.
Yeah.
And we also run the grid of of all of New York City.
Right.
No! Stupid.
Yes.
What the fuck? Yeah. And then we have the Osborns themselves, Norman and Harry.
If you hope you enjoy seeing Norman Osborn, because you see him for 10?
He's in one scene.
Yeah, one scene and a couple like flashback video-y things where he's not turning into an actual goblin.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, they decided to go they decided to go the ultimate Green Goblin route where he like actually physically transforms into a goblin, and it is a choice.
And a horrible waste of Chris Cooper, who
it is.
Could have given a good performance.
Right, because it's so you remember how we mentioned how in the first film, like, there's an image of Norman Osborn, like this sort of like shadowy silhouette.
Yeah.
Regardless of it, like, it is clearly not Chris Cooper.
Right.
And he dies. He's in one scene and he dies at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Apparently there was supposed to be a scene where his head was in a jar or something, so they were probably going to bring him back, which is all sorts of fucking weird.
But, like, what a waste of the actor and the character.
Yeah, right?
Dumb. Dumb.
Yeah. Speaking of wastes, how the fuck do you waste Paul Giamatti like that? Like, what the fuck? Paul Giamatti's an excellent actor. You could have done something. You could have fleshed Rhino out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they have him in the beginning and at the end in a ridiculous robotic Rhino suit. You know, he's hamming up, having a good time, but it's just like, this. You could have given some more time to Paul Giamatti's character.
Yes.
Instead of this bullshit that you're doing.
Right. Or like just all this other bullshit that you're doing, period.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah. Jeez. And speaking of bullshit, let's talk about poor Harry.
Yeah.
Poor Harry. Who has to be all things in this movie because he is not in the first one.
Yeah. He's not even hinted in the first one.
He's not. He doesn't even get a name drop in the first one.
Yeah.
Like, back in 2012, watching The Amazing Spider-Man, you're not even sure if Harry Osborn actually exists in this universe.
Right.
And then he shows up here, and Peter's all, Harry, my childhood friend.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in years.
I've been away at boarding school for 10
years. You've
years.
been in boarding school. I'm so sorry. Your father died. It's weird. Yeah. It's such an obvious retcon, and it's so weird.
Weird too, because like, you know, when his scene with Chris Cooper, where Chris Cooper's like, it's genetic, this disease, and you'll get, you know, and it said it started at your age and all that, but like, it feels weird that like, it happens so quickly, because obviously for Norman to get the state that he was much older too.
Yeah, he was like,
So it just feels kind of like he's in a rush against time, but it's like, but your dad didn't really get real bad until this certain age, so it just feels kind of like, why is he like?
Yeah, why is it accelerating?
He had like one little thing on his neck. It's like that's not like a full blown, you know.
Yeah, but still, like it also like he went from having a slight tremor in his hand to suddenly getting like gangrenous lesions on his body. Like it feels like it's happening at an accelerated rate, and I don't know why it's so much faster for Harry than it was for Norman.
No.
But so Harry is Peter's surprise best friend. We have to establish him as Peter's best friend. We have to establish him as him dying from the goblin disease. And then we have to establish that he thinks he can be cured by Spider-Man's blood, and Peter being kind of a dick about it, and for no reason.
Right.
Like this was supposed to be like we had this whole thing about like my best friend, and it's like, oh, you're dying? Well, that sucks. I can't help you. And it's all like.
I mean, to be fair, he didn't know what his blood would do. So yeah.
You could have just said. You could have just said, I don't know what my blood will do to you. Let's research this so that we know the best way to help you.
That's true.
That's literally all he had to say. And he gives Harry no hope whatsoever.
Right.
And
well, he had relationship drama in his mind.
Yeah,
Gwen was going to London.
Yeah, Gwen was getting ready to go to London, which is like, on the other side of they may break up over this.
But sorry about your dying shit.
Yeah, sorry,
Harry.
Sorry about the fact that your body is failing you at age 20. Sucks to be you, I guess.
Right.
Anyway, my girlfriend, he really comes off like a prick in that. Then we got that, and then we've got Harry going from. He literally goes from once, like, where he finds out about Ravencroft and all of the experiments that, hey, surprise, Oscorp is really shady and it's been experimenting on people.
Yeah.
He goes from being, justifiably shocked and horrified by that to, I'm gonna use, like, the change is quick.
Yeah.
It's very rapid.
Right.
And it makes no damn sense.
No, it's...
And then he becomes the Green Goblin.
Yeah, and very bad goblin-y makeup. Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's some body horror, but
for his transformation, yeah. But the final product, he looks like a rat.
Yeah.
A human rat.
Yeah. That
crawled out of the sewer and decided to found a hang glider and decided to fly around on it.
Yeah.
The glider itself looks cool. I'll say that. Cool. The glider looks cool, but Green Goblin himself, not so much.
Let's talk about Electro before we get back.
Yeah. Don't you know? I'm Electro.
So Jamie Foxx kind of starts off as kind of this obsessed fan of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because he saves his life and all that.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Which is cool. But he kind of has that Catwoman-y Batman Returns type character who, is very nerdy.
Yeah, he's the overlooked nerd.
Yeah. Which, gradually turns him evil when he falls into a bunch of electric eels.
That was so weird.
Which straightens his teeth and gets rid of his gap.
It does all kinds of things for him.
Yeah. It turns him blue.
Yeah, the Electro look is not great.
Yeah.
One of the things that, spoilers, got fixed for No Way Home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jamie Foxx is giving his all, and one of the, I did like the character trajectory of, someone who's been overlooked all his life and just wants to be noticed.
Yeah.
And this is finally the way that he's being noticed by people for the first time.
Yeah.
And the effect that has on his psyche. That made sense, especially in comparison to Harry Osborn's character trajectory. His trajectory made sense.
Yeah.
So, props to that.
Totally.
And, yeah.
Ugh.
That's, Gosh.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, it feels like there's a lot of dead air in this movie, and I'm not quite sure why. Especially since there's so many plot lines going on.
Yeah, like, they introduced Felicia Hardy as, like, an assistant for Oscorp, which I assume would just been later revealed that she was spying on them or something.
Yeah.
But, like, and then there's Alexander Smythe is introduced, who, you know,
is working at Oscorp.
And we get Ravencroft as well, of course, but, like...
and Dr. Kafka working there.
Yeah, so it's like, there's lots of, you know, and there's little hints in the background, like, there's a Doc Ock's Vulture's
arms, Vulture's wings.
Yeah, so they were obviously trying to set up Sinister Six and stuff, but the problem was that, like, the Harry Osborn stuff was so... It was very much like Venom in Spider-Man 3. It was so rushed.
Yeah.
Like, we barely even established that these guys were friends.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
and
now I'm evil.
Now he's a villain, yeah. And he even shows up as Green Goblin right after Electro gets taken out.
Yeah. Like, well, Electro's gone. Here's another villain.
And a new villain has emerged.
Yeah. And then he kills Gwen Stacy.
Yes.
Now,
the death
scene
of
itself,
Gwen Stacy.
The scene itself is well shot. It's a good...
It is beautifully shot.
Yeah. Now, whatever your thoughts are on whether they should have killed her off this quick or not is a whole, you know, discussion that you can have amongst yourselves. I know my dad didn't like it, mainly because, you know, he didn't like... I don't know, my dad doesn't like when they kill off characters unless it's, like, been built up really well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do spend, like, practically the whole movie hinting at her death.
Well, yeah, but it feels like, hey, here's this girl, and now she's dead. But it just felt, well, I just, like I was saying, it's just like, how depressing for his Spider-Man, though. Because, like, okay, he lost his uncle in the first movie, and then, you know, her dad dies, and he has to watch him die, and then she dies. So it's like, it's like,
he's been through a lot.
Yeah, it's like he's been through some shit here.
He has been through some shit.
It's just like, man, that Venom symbiote was just waiting for him. You know?
Yeah, and he's it does. Oh, that does bring up another thing, is that some of the mood swings in the film are quite harsh. Like, you go from that very touching Aunt May scene to, like, comedy, and, like, or the part where Electro is first walking through Times Square, and then suddenly like there's like this bippity bop music playing. When he's like, there's some real tonal inconsistencies that are just odd.
I think, as I was telling Anna, I said, a lot of times, and lately especially with the MCU movies, it's been like a lot of criticism of, like, let directors direct, let them have their vision. And I'm like, from this movie though, just some of those scenes that we were talking about that felt unnecessary, it's like, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be like, well, maybe Spielberg should just have his vision, or Scorsese have, you know, but, like, not every director is them. You know, not every director is Greta Gerwig and stuff. It's like, sometimes you got to have some, like, restraints. And yes, obviously Sony muddled around and said shuffle this in there, but, like, I feel like there's too much a lot of times where it's just like, well, if they just let this director direct, then this would have been... I'm like, yeah, but this is we talk about Spider-Man 3. It's like, yeah, Sam Raimi can complain about Venom being included and all that, but it's still on you, dude. You still directed. You still made some of these choices in this movie. Yeah. This is not all the studio.
And the thing is, like, there has to be, like, harmony, like, cohesion between what the producers want and what the director wants.
Right.
And that's obviously not the case here, because, like, on one hand we have, like, all this stuff, like, drama, relationship stuff. And then on the other hand, we have all this other extra Easter eggy shit being shoved into the background that had to be from Sony. Because they were trying to set up Sinister Six. And it does get to the point where it's like initially it's kind of fun. Like, I thought Dr. Kafka was fun. But, like, it does get to a point where it's just annoying. Like, when we first meet when we first meet Felicia Hardy, just in case you didn't know, she's Black Cat.
Right.
She's wearing black nail polish, just so you know. She's Black Cat. And just, like, all the, like, it kind of crosses the line into like, this is just fucking annoying.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, that's kind of the issue with Amazing Spider-Man 2, is that there's just too much unnecessary stuff going on instead of focusing on the plot at hand.
Yeah, the first movie was much better about just having a straight story. You had one villain really that you were focused on.
Right.
And that was, you know, the lizard, and so it was like, and it was fun and silly. Mm-hmm. The lizards people.
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
Let's just all be lizards.
We should just be lizards.
We should just all be lizards.
Yeah, why not? I'm a little scaly anyway. My broken out hands.
So, yeah.
Cool. So we will do a follow-up video later this week, probably Wednesday night because I'm off for Thanksgiving, where we try to fix Amazing Spider-Man 2 and lead into a third movie that never happened.
What could Amazing Spider-Man 3 have been?
Yeah, so we want to make some fixes on that. We also will look into like who we would have cast in certain roles. Now I know that Shailene Woodley was technically supposed to be MJ, but she got cut.
Yeah.
So that gives us the option of recasting.
Yes.
So we're gonna do that. But so we will get Mary Jane involved in this soon too. But yeah, we have some other ideas too. But we'll get into that in another night because Anna has to go to bed and work in the morning at 5 a.m. So she has to get some sleepy time.
Yes.
And we respect that here. People need their sleep.
Yep.
All right. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review of the Amazing Spider duology, or whatever you want to call it.
The Amazing Spider-Man duology.
Yes.
The Webbverse,
Yes.
if you will. By the way, Mark Webb is an amazing name for someone to direct a Spider-Man film.
He's not a bad director.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Cool.
Some good choices. So yeah, at some point we'll watch the new trilogy and comment on that.
Yes, the MCU.
Yes, and maybe even figure out what our thoughts are on what Spider-Man 4 might end up being. Yeah,
yes.
So, thanks for watching, guys. Like
Thank
and
you so
subscribe.
much.
Have a good night.
Good night.